mobility, and put them on a treadmill, right? Like do a basic
So what's the
assessment.
difference between that treadmill and like the assault runner, like that are in like
This
CrossFit gyms?
you can run on that one. This one, the curve is not so steep and extreme,
Okay.
so it gives a much more natural. You could go run on that like for an hour run, or
Yeah.
you could walk on it. The assaults tend to have a much more aggressive curve, so
Okay.
it doesn't replicate just normal movement in the way the more kind of, you have to look at the degrees, but when you go head to head, like people like that. They like, oh wow, this gives me good feedback, and they get on like an assault or one of those older woodways.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen the ones.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, they're yeah. I mean, you can sprint on the damn thing, but it doesn't
Yeah.
give you like you can't just like learn to move. Like you go gear 1 on this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me master running slow on this. Okay, now I can go gear 2.
Yeah.
Right, like you have to learn how to run slow ridiculously well before you
Hey,
run
before you bump it
fast.
up.
Yeah,
No, it
I
makes
mean, this
sense.
kind of like in the gym
You
before
okay if
you.
I have the camera going?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, no,
go
I
ahead.
think it's yeah, you're welcome now, Mark. I'm like, I want to come out. I'm like, I've called you guys like multiple times. Like, when's Mark going to be in? I looked at Instagram. I was like 10 p.m. Like, before I go to bed, let me see if
Yeah.
you're going to be here. I'm like, ah, cool. Let me drop in. But yeah, sorry, you're going to show me the thing with the shoes. What was it?
Yeah, so have a seat there, Matt. You know, one of the things that the bridge sole helps with is, so your toes are good, but a lot of patients we see who've been in shoes with toe springs, you know, toe spring meaning the front of the shoe rockers up,
Yep.
you know, which these don't. Right?
Yeah,
These
I got
don't
the
have
good shoes.
Yeah, so they come in and their toes are here. The extensors are very tight. The fat pad has migrated,
Yeah.
and they're pounding their metatarsal head. You know, so they're getting
Yeah.
and they're squeezed, so they're getting these neuromas. But then their foot's not functioning like a spring. So what we want to do is try to bring the toes down. So when you put a little tension right behind the metatarsal heads, either with a metatarsal pad or the bridge soles,
Yeah.
the toes come back down.
Okay.
And then for, like the lady who was just here had a little bit, she's 70 plus years old, so foot looking pretty good, but you know, like, oh, that's smart, because a lot of people instinctively want to roll their toes. Ah, that feels good, right? They're stretching the flexors more.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah,
your
yeah.
toes are in extension already, you want to,
Yeah.
yeah, you want to do
Yeah.
the opposite.
Stretch the extensors out.
Yes,
Yeah. No,
just
makes
to
sense.
get your toes back down.
Oh,
But
cool.
most
Okay.
people, it's like, oh, that feels good, and you know, you can
You
foam
release that.
roll.
Yeah, release
And
that
this
shin.
is where, like, you know, using the, you know, the one that's like the stick.
Yeah, with the little knob on it.
Yeah, and even you can, you know, just sitting like this, you know,
Oh,
put
get
your
the stretch of the yeah.
yeah,
No,
and
that
just
makes a lot of
sitting
sense.
down, because that's gonna. But whatever. But your feet are fine.
I've tried.
So,
I've been
yeah.
working on it. And one thing I
Yeah.
have, I'm curious what you think about this, but I can take this off.
Yeah.
I had like my dad has this too. Like I consider I'd have more of like a flatter foot, like lower arch type. But it's gotten a lot better. But since I've
Yeah.
been wearing these
The
and
zeros, yeah.
the zeros and toe side, I definitely had like a tailor's bunion. And when I pressed in here, I'm taking a course right now that's all
Yeah.
about foot health. That interossei was so tender. It was really
Are you
rough.
doing just some releases in there?
Yeah,
to
I'm
try
just
to
pressing between the metatarsals. I'm like, oh my, it's still a little bit tender, but it was just
Yeah.
this one. So I think that just got all gummed up and
And that could have been, you know, most of our shoes are also pinching the fifth toe and squeezing here. So almost all of our bunions are not by genetic design. It's just by the environment our feet have been in. But I can put you through just what we do when people come in.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but
I have it coming back from like a post-tib issue
Yeah.
where it wasn't like a shin splint. It's more
Yeah,
like right here,
right
and
at
like the
the-
insertion too, with that post-tib.
Yeah.
But at first this was like a little too much. But I've been doing the barefoot insoles have actually helped them.
yeah,
ton.
because that's going to help the intrinsic muscles fire. Yeah, one thing you can kind of see, like your feet look pretty good, but when you stand, so go ahead and stand, and I'll grab my foot model. So probably the most common thing we see is, so right now you're not in talar neutral, okay? So you're basically straining the tib posterior because we want you here. So we want that talus right in the mortise. And what happens to most feet is the big toes here, the intrinsic muscles are weak, you know, and you're just standing and running and landing like this, which puts all of the shear on the tib posterior. So this is where the barefoot science insole works, because we want these muscles to fire and keep the foot neutral. So here, we just want to bring you, but we don't want to brace you, right? Because
Yeah.
then you become reliant, but we want to teach your foot and this is with you being, standing, 1G, 2 feet.
Yeah.
But when we run, if we're at all, so if we're kind of tilted here a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the foot,
Like
so here's tailor neutral, right? We have the ankle rocker. But if the big toe is here, then you're kind of here, and then you land, right? So running is, your single leg hops, right?
Yeah.
So like and that's where you see it every day, right? You get all the
This guy.
knee, IT band, everything's kind of quad anterior chain, and we want to bring the glutes. So even the barefoot science activates the glutes a little more because kind of from the bottom up, we're kind of here versus here. So you're doing the right thing by using the barefoot science and working your way.
Yeah.
But you can also do some really good exercises, kind of like foot core. Usually you've got to balance on something, but you just bring the heel up and just hold it. Just bring your
slightly heel off the ground.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And you're like, oh wow, that's
Yeah, it's rough. That I feel like that's
it's like a plank.
I've been doing a lot with patients of just like I'll give them pass throughs like this kettlebell.
Yeah.
And I'll have them do that, and it's like it's rough because like their foot has to work in that position, and like I've had some success with that. I didn't.
And they have to work it, and I have a stand-up desk. I mean, most people don't have time to do all this, so you do this while you're doing other things. You could be chopping your vegetables.
Just stand on one leg and press that.
Yeah,
toe
just
down.
just press the toe down, and you're like, oh wow, that's work.
Are you big into like just the big toe, or do you care like all the toes pressing down?
No, I mean you can do the. Jay teaches the toe yoga. You lift the big toe up, anchor the big toe down, right? So you kind of work them all. And I have a little device at home. It's actually a strain gauge. You would anchor the big toe like a credit card.
Oh, I see.
And you'd pull, right? So you should be able to. I wish I brought that in. So you should be able to anchor and stab. I'll get like a card.
Force there is.
Yeah. I mean, you could just get like a piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hold. Yeah. So stab just your big toe. Just stab that and hold that piece of paper. That's good. Okay. Now stab with the other four.
Four toes.
Yeah. So not quite as good, but that's like the people whose toes are up here. It's like.
Oh yeah, they're trying to.
Yeah,
that makes
they're
sense.
gripping it instead of stabbing it, right? So
do you give people like if they're gonna get like what are the toe shoes? Not the Vibrams, the
Paluvas.
Do you give them? Is there like a barefoot? I see the book. Is that what you give people? You'll say, hey,
Yeah,
get this book,
I'll
and
give you
that should
a
help
pair. Mark gave us a bunch of those.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, no, the Paluvas are actually like really interesting because they just where you're walking around, and they have a little bit of cushion to them, so you're not. A lot of people like the sensation of just on the ground 5-finger is they're not ready for that yet.
Yeah. Oh, there's a little bit of stack height on the.
Yeah. Or say you like work in a hospital or Home Depot or a warehouse where you're on concrete all day.
That's a lot.
Like I work in a hospital, and these things are like, oh my God, they're so good.
Yeah.
Right?
You get that little bit of cushion.
Yeah.
Yeah. These would be. These are just all I feel like outsole. Yeah. There's like no.
Yeah, these have a little more stack than those, but a little bit of cushion. But yeah, so for
cool.
you, the barefoot science, and then just being aware, here's, because we look at our feet, right? So when our tail is neutral, big toe where it should be, right? Our feet are springs.
Yeah.
When we're here and the foot's in valgus, right? So here, we don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want. Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, no. So like we want the body to be springy, but align them. A couple other things we do, and you see this from Jay. Yeah, so simple assessment of stability is really what's your balance on one foot. We test that, and you can do different. You're teaching this all the time with people. We want to look at your like if you had plantar fasciitis. It doesn't sound like you do, but so you've got good mobility. You've got 60 degrees dorsiflexion, which is good.
Yeah.
But when you walk and run, right, your ankle is here.
Knee bend, yeah.
Yeah, and your ankle is in dorsal. So here you're plantar flex at the ankle, right, dorsiflex, big toe. So you've got some restriction there. You see, so when you run, when you toe off your ankle, run and walk. So you could get in there and
And release the plantar fascia.
yeah, like with one of those tools.
Yeah.
You probably have them in your office.
So how much are you looking for 10 degrees of great toe? What do you look for?
Oh, I mean, you'd ideally, even in dorsiflexion of the ankle, you would, because that brings the arch together.
Yeah.
Right. So when your gait cycle and you're here, ideally, you'd be able to dorsiflex the toe still to lock the arch.
Okay.
To be able to take off on a stable foot.
Yeah. Okay.
Or else, so what happens is everyone will work around it. So say you're running in the zeros.
Yeah.
And your ankle's dorsiflex, but you got to go forward. You're probably either going to kind of go to the outside because you're here, so you can't just go right through it, or you might collapse in.
Yeah.
To be able to get the motion.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And that's where you'd have to. Your default may be roll in to get off the ground, versus straight through. But I use they're like $12 on Amazon. The little fascia tools that look like a brass knuckle.
Yeah.
They're just.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
You just hit it.
Yeah, yeah. It actually feels. Or you could roll while you're at your desk.
Yeah, it is interesting. So is that essentially like that? Once heel's off, that's where I'm in that position. Is that like heel off position?
Yeah, yeah. Because when we in the gait cycle, at toe off, our ankles dorsiflex.
Yep. Yeah.
Right, and if your big toe can't bend, so my issue is my workaround is lateral because I have a completely fused great toe joint.
Okay.
Like mine is stuck.
No,
mine is stuck here. It's stuck here because all this arthritis change from too many. I had my great toe, all the bones all resected and arthritis cleaned up. I wore Trek spikes for all those years, not knowing what the hell it was doing to my foot.
Oh, just like compressing it narrow.
Yeah. Like I was like, why the fuck's my foot hurt? This is. Then they X-rayed it, and I was like 30 years old, and they're like, you have no joint left in your big toe.
Oh,
right, and I mean, basically, like all,
Yeah.
You see it, it's like hallux rigidus, like basically the whole great toe.
Yeah. And like I felt it, I'm like, this ain't going anywhere. It's like it's the hard end feel.
Yeah, you have good joint. Your tightness is plantar fascia.
Okay.
Because you see how you dorsiflex. So mine here, you're a PT, right? So try to dorsiflex my great toe now. Nothing.
That's going nowhere.
It's
I
going nowhere.
I don't know.
And that's not
Maybe
plantar
5
fascia.
degrees.
That's bone because my ankle is here.
Did you ever get someone where the sesamoid is a limitation, like sesamoid stiffness?
Not
Anything
really. So the sesamoid is confused in most people. So in for the sesamoid, the flexor hallux brevis and longus pass through. It's like a pulley, right? They sit between the sesamoids, which allow your big toe to stab.
Yeah.
But when the toe gets over here, kind of in valgus, bunion, the flexor hallux longus and brevis are now like off the track. So now they keep pulling, right?
It pulls you in.
Yeah, and then people are in trouble because then they can't. Like, kids can just do this with their toes, right? Yeah. So once that starts happening, you've got to do some manual work. So you can get them back on the track, I think. And if they're not too far gone, like the people that are just completely too far gone, we give them a toe spacer. But like if a kid, like we'll see teenagers in here, and they're already like here. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But they're young enough, they're...
We can work on it.
Yeah, we can work on it. And then you get them to just try to reconstruct this motion, right?
Yeah.
Stab, not grip, but try to get it back on track.
Do you find that more with women? Like females?
Oh, absolutely, because most women's shoes are designed to ruin your feet. So
they're not the nicest shoe wear, which is interesting.
So
the
boys tend to wear like more of the skateboard shoes, which tend to be okay.
Yeah, wider. I wore
they're
skateboard
wider
shoes
and they're flat.
Yeah, that probably helped my feet.
But you see even the teenage girls now are wearing shoes that are screwing your feet up.
Not cool. Anything else you look at for your assessment?
Really, I mean that's obviously going to look at their ankle joint mobility, their toe joint mobility. Are they in extension? Because what we want to do is restore the foot in its factory conditions if it can get there. And most people with some manual therapy and strengthening, they can get back closer to how the foot's designed to work. But if someone we see a lot of people and they're broken, right? So toe spacers.
Like
and some people do
time.
need. So some people actually they do need some arch support because their tib posterior through years of their ankle being in this overpronated position. So their tib posterior is gone,
Yeah.
right? It's
That's
shredded.
The post-tib dysfunction.
Yeah,
It's
posterior
like-
tib is, so they, and if they're going to run, they're going to need something to, because they're just going to collapse in. They can't really restore that. It's like the stretchy underwear band, you know, of your
Yeah.
kid, and now it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it ain't coming back.
It's, yeah, you've what's the model with the elongation where there's like once you get to a
So
point,
it's a hysteresis curve, they're called. Yes.
Okay,
So
yeah,
once
yeah.
stress strain. So once you've broken,
once you've strained it too far, you can't go back.
it can't
Okay.
go back.
Yeah,
But the younger people, it's where things in younger people can go back.
Okay.
70 and 80, like no,
hard.
it's not
Yeah,
coming
my
back.
grandmother had to. I believe it was post-tib dysfunction. She had to get orthotics when she was, I don't know, 80
Yeah.
before she passed away.
Yeah,
do you mind,
it's-
could you get me on the treadmill? And I'm
Yeah,
curious
yeah.
how that
I'll
went.
show you a couple other things we do with people even before we get you on the treadmill.
Yeah.
How are you, Morgan? How are you?
Good.
All right, here's Matt, and then we're gonna give him.
Like it's the other ones. It's very easy to get it going. Like I have to work. I don't know. It's different in the other ones I've done.
So one of the things that we're going to go work with Matt a little bit here. So he's not really getting any hip extension. You see how he's pretty much running from the anterior chain. But we're going to do a couple corrections here with you. And then we're in software.
Yeah.
Right, so hardware is, can I get hip extension? Can I stabilize on one leg?
Yeah.
But software is how you move, right? That's all neurologic. One of the things we noticed, which we could do a simple correction with you, is the foot always follows the hand, right? So when your hands tend to be a little too far in front, you're going to land more here,
Okay.
right? So if you watch like the Kenyans, right, their hands are always tucked here like chicken
in
wings, right? So, you know, and when they're running, right, you're tap, 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 tap. So you're kind of here, soft, extension, and you have to get hip extension to get to gear 2. So to get to gear 2, it's opening up the hips. But what I find is so many people have such tight hip flexors,
Yeah.
so to try to get the hip extension, they
yeah,
make it up. Yeah,
Dump the pelvis. Yeah.
they dump the
Okay.
pelvis, or they just can't do it in place.
Okay.
So your protection is kind of off. So what we want to do is, and you can do this kind of manually,
Okay.
you know, just try to bring your toes down. You're like, it's a little bit smarts, you feel it?
Yeah.
But that's a good smarts, because what we're trying to do is release a little of this. And you can get in here and release a little bit of this. But you wouldn't want to be like in a true 5 fingers, because that's going to, you want a little bit of cushion here.
Yeah.
And you might be better in a shoe like an Ultra, which has a little more cushion.
Okay. Spring is coming. We'll start walking.
But there's the insole, he would be a good candidate for that bridge sole.
Yeah.
So there's, but I want to see you stand. So go ahead and just stand too, and roll your pant legs up. Yeah. And which branch? Were you Navy? Yeah, you were Navy.
Sailor.
Yeah, there.
Naval officer.
Yeah. And he's pretty good here. So he's a tailor neutral here. So he wouldn't really need a barefoot science. Yeah, yeah. No, this is good. You're many years in a crappy Navy boot, and your toes still look pretty good. Yeah.
Well, I was with the Marines most of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I'll show you. I helped design this boot 15 years ago. This is
did
called
you?
the Mini Mill.
Yeah.
So it's like a wide toe box boot.
Wow.
Still issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, but what these do, which is interesting, is they actually help your toes.
Okay.
So if you, I mean, it's a little adaptation. Dion, how are you? So, like, if they train your feet, it's pretty crazy. Like, if it doesn't hurt, walking around in these is like, it's like foot training. It's
Yeah. It's continuous. But it continues.
yeah,
to hold those toes.
continuous. Yeah, because it's spreading your toes out,
Yeah.
and it's
As you
allowing.
can see, these two are kind of close together. But that's
Yeah, and if you wear these for like a month, like the first day, it's like you're like playing with it to get your feet to slide in, but then your feet just slide
slide
in
in because
because
you
they get better.
Yeah. Okay.
But one other shoe that you could try if you feel like, but try them on again. Is it just you feel pain there, or what are you feeling?
Well, when I have a hard time putting them in.
Let me show you one other thing that'll help you open that hip up.
Yeah.
And this was an exercise designed by Lawrence, you know, the guy who I just mentioned, Lawrence Van Lingen.
Yeah.
So it's called the awesomizer. So you're here, and you rotate toward belly button toward the, because this will get your pelvis neutral. So you're not anterior tilting your pelvis. So you twist and you kind of come forward up on the big toe, back, release the hamstring. But it's a good dynamic to kind of open all this up. And then you kind of go back, rotate. Because what we want to do is rotate at this T12L1, right? So running and walking, we have to rotate, right? We have to rotate in this mid-center point, so you're here, sink,
Oh, I see. You're rotating.
rotate,
Okay, yeah.
come back, but it's just good. It just opens you. It's kind of like a little bit of knees over toes, but more dynamic.
Yeah.
But you'll feel it. But see where you go ahead and do that.
It's like
It's like it's a good
it's
balance.
a very running specific way of kind of doing
It is. It's a running. So get your back foot square.
That's my default, is twist.
Yes, and then rotate. Just aim toward. Okay, now sink, sink, sink.
Oh, I see.
Yes. So sink,
Sink.
and keep your back knee straight. There you go. But you're going to feel it somewhere in the fascial line, right? And then come back.
Oh, I see you open up.
Yeah, and just so open up and then sink forward and rotate in and then back.
I feel my foot. Don't let that happen.
Yeah, because you want to reproduce kind of that gait, big toe off the big toe, right? Big toe is kind of captain of the ship. So you're here, rotate off the big toe, because
I see.
when we run, we want to plant our flex to launch, right? So if you look at the best track runners, when they're in flight phase, it's like they're tanning their souls, so to speak, right? So then you have the shufflers.
Yeah.
But the people that are actually running fast, right, they go off their big toe and they release, and you just look at them in mid-flight, and their soul is faced toward the sky, but it just is good.
I want to see if there's a change.
Yeah, but we're going to do a couple
change, okay.
things. So this is Golden's little cheater strap. Okay, so we're gonna put the little cheater strap on you.
Okay.
Put your hands up.
Goes back.
And then put your thumbs in here. So if you
there's
ran
another one?
8 weeks with this, you wouldn't need a coach. It's going to keep you here. So now what we want to do, so first we're just going to walk first, okay? So you can get your thumbs out of there for the walking. So when we walk, right, so belly button is always going to point toward the lead leg, right? So we rotate. There you go. So nice long strides. Press off your big toe, right? Nice touch and roll. But rotate your belly button, laser pointer toward the lead leg, right? So you get that rotation at the mid spine, basically, lower thoracic, upper lumbar. We want to rotate because that allows us to use that spiral line spring, right? So there you go. So now to run, what we're going to do here is
Put these in.
put those in. It's your phone. Now what you want to do is just tap, 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 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 1 and 2. Now imagine there's a winch on your belt loop, and you're going to bring your belt loop a little closer toward me. Tuck your hands in a little more, elbows back, straight ahead. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I see. I'm pressing my
Yeah. So just tuck chicken wings. There you go. Knuckles to sternum. Think of Kenyan, right? Just imagine you're a Kenyan, right? And you're bringing your belly button, not belly button, your belt loop
forward.
a little forward. And now to go to gear 2, just pretend like you're stomping grapes a little bit, right? So posterior chain, and keeping a little bit of a window between your knees, right? So then you're using glutes. So you're totally different right now. And again, to here, now keep your hands closer. There you go. It's weird. Just tuck your hands a little bit and you've just got a whole new, yeah. And the rhythm is this. And you'll think about it. 1 and 2. When you hear that and, you're allowing your center of mass to float over your foot and 2 off the ground, okay? So that slight pause, but think about this. This is how you figure it out.
Yeah.
So the rhythm is 1 and 2. So 1 and 2 off the ground. So most people, they pull themselves off the ground without fully allowing their center mass to go ahead of their foot. Okay. Because if I want to go that way, where do I have to apply force? that way.
Oh, yeah, back. Yeah.
That
yeah.
way. So, but
Yeah.
you don't want to fight that. You want to relax into that. So you're kind of here. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. There you go. That is it.
I was just getting.
So you're totally different now than when you first got on that. Like this is like you're a totally different beast right now. Yeah, and you're still fighting this a little bit. So like,
Oh, the arms.
yeah. So you want to be. Yeah, and again, like don't gas yourself, because you want to relax. Yeah, there you go. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. I think stomping grapes. Extend. You're a PT. You know the glute. Posterior chain. He looks good, Dion. Look at him. I know. He's working too hard. It's like, we don't want you working hard. Chill, chill, chill. But no, you got a good tempo. Now, if you had one of these, you would just learn how to not fight it. You would just learn how to relax into it.
Yeah. No, that was great.
Because you've run on the assault. What did you notice different about this than like the assault?
The assault just goes.
Yeah, it's like a flywheel. This
You can just fall into it and it just goes.
Yeah. And what's magic about this, like you've read a lot of Jay stuff, so if your posture is off, like you're in the back seat,
Yeah.
so the common things we'll see in the runners on this, right? So if they're like, leaning at the waist, right?
Yeah, doing that.
Or they're here, like you have to be in balance. Like we teach people to walk on it first with like, you could use like a rogue bar, so posture. So we're going to teach them. First, we're going to teach you how to walk, right? So when you walk, you're going to be rotating.
You still focus on that belly button pointing.
Yeah, toward the lead leg, right? So the belly button, and then, really walking backwards, actually, because backwards then you really have to learn how to coordinate and rotate. Walk backwards. When you walk backwards, you have to learn how to soften the foot and the calf. Because runners too often are activating their foot and their calf when they should be relaxing and using the big movers.
Okay.
So you're trying to get them to not, right? Why should they have all these foot calf injuries, right? They should just allow the foot to contact the ground. Yes, spring. But the posture bars are really good, to just get that.
I feel like it's a lot of core too, because
Yeah, and you can weight then you could weight the bar. It's even more.
Steel bar, okay.
Yeah, this is like a Home Depot thing, but
Oh yeah, just that.
I mean they sell these, for like a lot of money. These posture bars, you can just go to Home Depot and buy
one of those.
one
Yeah,
of
even
these.
like the Rogue PVC pipe. Even those are more expensive than like the ones you get. Get a
Yeah,
1-inch
yeah.
PVC pipe.
I don't know. I got this. Yeah, this is Home Depot right here.
Yeah. I was get something like that.
Yeah. But no,
I
you
can
just
too. I don't mind.
yeah.
'cause I wanna get one of
You
these.
should just go run like 8 weeks with this every day,
This
and
is pretty cool.
and then you would like, as a PT, you'd be like, oh my God, I get that.
Yeah.
I need to get your contact stuff too, because so go ahead, Sharon. You said right.
Yeah, this is a pretty color too, but I think I like this.
Yeah. So yeah, you measure 7. So I would go like to an 8, but we could try an 8, and see.
See, I feel like that one's so much bigger, isn't it? But I guess it's still just.
No, it's a little bit. Yeah,
good.
yeah. A half shoe size is 1/6 of an inch, so it's not really that.
Not a big thing. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, track guy. Yeah, let me grab an 8.